Through 1989, that community was Fordham Law School. In 1993, as the dean pointed out, when a strange turn of events, too long to recount here, ended with me being elected as mayor of my hometown, the city of Glen Cove, New York, it was what I learned at Fordham Law School that guided me and gave me the confidence to believe that we could make people's lives better. We built buildings, we cleaned up pollution, we balanced budgets, we restored pride in our hometown, and most important, we helped people. 8 years later, in 2001, my definition of community grew to include my entire home county of Nassau. We turned around what was rated, as the dean pointed out, the worst-run county in America. We reduced crime, we built more buildings, we cleaned up more pollution and helped more people. I now run a government with a population and a budget larger than 11 states in the United States of America. In 2006, my definition of community expanded even further to include our home state of New York. New York State has the highest local taxes in America, but we have no measurable results to show for it. Our state legislature has been declared the most dysfunctional in America. So I ran for governor in a Democratic primary against Eliot Spitzer. Anybody hear about that? That didn't turn out very well for me. Didn't turn out very well for the other guy either. That's never mentioned in my bio, you know. But we still need positive change in our state and in our nation, and we need each of you. Sometimes you don't appreciate the fact that you're in the top 10% of the smartest, most successful people in the United States of America. Each of you right here in this room are the leaders we need. The Fordham family, well-educated, and more important, inculcated with our tradition of service to others, can truly help make the world better. And we need you now more than ever. However you define community, whether it's your home or your office, your towns, or our state or our country, you can, like John Costantino, be a person who brings about change for the common good. At the Church of St. Paul the Apostle, where I used to go and say a prayer before my finals, there's a beautiful mural on the southwest wall by American impressionist Robert Reed. The martyrdom of St. Paul depicts St. Paul kneeling before an executioner who stands beside him with a sword drawn. Above, the following words are inscribed: "I have fought a good fight, I have finished my course, I have kept the faith." These excerpts are from St. Paul's second letter to his faithful co-worker Timothy, and were written close to the time of his execution. And in his hour of death, he was giving Timothy hope, just as he gave me hope before my law school finals, just as he gives each of us hope today. And if we keep that faith in God, in ourselves, and in each other, if we act as idealists without illusion, we can bring about positive change for the common good. It may take some time, but it's definitely worth it. 20 years ago, we started to build what is now the Fordham Law School Public Interest Resource Center. It was composed of 3 student service groups at the time, 2 of which I discussed earlier, and a law clinic. Today, there are now 23 student groups in the Public Interest Resource Center. The student members feed the hungry and provide assistance to the homeless. They use their legal education to work on domestic violence, human rights, unemployment, immigration, and environmental advocacy, and so much more. The student-sponsored fellowship, which started with a few students with a good idea, is now Fordham Law School's single largest source for public service summer internships. Just this past Thursday, I think it was, the students held their 18th annual student-sponsored fellowship annual auction and raised tens of thousands of dollars. Public service is a part of the daily life of Fordham Law School. Change may take a little longer than you expect, but never give up. I'll close by sharing a story that I always think of when I get discouraged or frustrated with the pace of change or the difficulty of making change happen. It's a story that always helps me keep the faith, so to speak. My children and I, Caroline and Joseph, Michael wasn't born yet, were hiking in the Wellwind Nature Preserve over in my hometown of Glen Cove. It's a place that I used to hike when I was a young boy. And while we were hiking through the woods, we saw a red-tailed hawk fly from one branch over to another, a beautiful sight. Then we went down to the Long Island Sound, and by some marshes, we saw a beautiful osprey dive from the air into the water, pick up a fish, and take off with his prey. And I thought to myself, I don't remember seeing those birds when I was a kid. Was it because I wasn't interested as a young boy, or was it because those birds weren't there? So I called up the Audubon Society, and I asked them, were those birds there in the 60s and early 70s when I used to hike in those woods? And they said no. All the birds had been killed off by DDT. And it wasn't until Rachel Carson wrote a book called Silent Springs that they banned DDT as a pesticide because of its endangered wildlife and also had negative impacts, they thought, on human beings. It took 20 or 30 years before change actually took place with those birds. Change will not come right away. After I finish this speech, the band's not going to begin to play, and we won't march out into the streets and change the world. It only happens that way in the movies. It may take a week, or a year, or 5 years, or 20 years. Or maybe we'll have to wait the 40 years that it took from the time of Martin Luther King's assassination to the election of Barack Obama as President of the United States. But if we keep on pushing, you can clap for Barack Obama, that's okay. But if we keep on pushing and keep on fighting, if we get involved, try and empower others to join us and overcome our fears and insecurities and just do it, each of you can surely help change the world. Thank you so much for having me today, and please join me in thanking Fordham Law School for all they've done for every single one of us in this room and for making our city and our state and our country a better place to live. Thank you very much.